Hey guys, this is Iban Lee, and I'm going to be talking about a very abstract method of learning, you jazz vocabulary called the think it, say it, play it method. I learned this from an old teacher of mine. His name is Ramsey Castaneda. You can look up his YouTube. He's an amazing musician and amazing teacher, but this really stuck with me forever. Um, so basically, the concept. Um, it's very useful for learning jazz vocabulary because um, a lot of us musicians have especially when we're starting out, we're struggling with the fact that you know when you're learning a phrase or a piece of vocabulary, you're transcribing something, and you really want to take that lick that you like so much. And we all have heard that learn it in all 12 keys, and that's really important, but it never seems to always stick. And I don't know if a lot of you have that issue with things like that sticking. You don't know where to use it over changes, how to make it sound natural, and that can be a pretty big problem when you're trying to just improvise and make it sound like and it's always the biggest struggle. However, this method is going to really help um, help to kind of internalize those things and put it more into your long-term memory, so that way you always have access to it. Not only does it really help you teach yourself, but like this method can be used for a lot of things when you're trying to learn how to play music, when you're trying to improvise, when you want to learn new pieces of vocabulary so you can start bridging over those changes a lot better. And it's a really important thing that it's a really important concept that will definitely help with that. And quick, little story. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Bob Reynolds. He kind of uses something. I mean, I don't know exactly what he does, but it's kind of similar. When I was going to school for music, I had a great teacher there. His name is Brian Lips. He toured with Bob Reynolds to tour with John Mayer, and so he told me a story one day. He told me that him and Bob were on a plane ride to go do a show with John, and Bob was doing something. I think he was listening to music or doing something on with his fingers, and so Brian goes up to him. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And this is on the plane ride, right? And Bob was like, "Oh, as you know, Bob Reynolds also does still now. Back then he did too, but is with the amazing Snarky Puppy. He's one of the saxophone players for them." And so he tells him that, yeah, I'm just trying to memorize the music, and you guys know Snarky Puppy music isn't the easiest thing in the world. It's super hard music. Um, and so he memorized those songs on the plane ride without touching his horn. And so this, again, going back to this, I think that's amazing. And this method is definitely one of those things that will help you guys get closer to that level of memorizing vocabulary, memorizing music. You definitely can do it this way. It does build up your relative pitch a little bit too, I believe so. It's definitely helped me a lot. It's made me a better musician, so let's start getting into it, right? So first things first, right? So this is called the think it, say it, play it method. Now, the way that works is, for example, you're trying to learn something simple, a piece of vocabulary, right? Let's just go, let's say we're on a C major scale, and we're trying to just learn a pattern, 1 1 5 3, right? And so 1 5 3 meaning the first note of C major, then the fifth note of C major, and then the third, right? So that's gonna sound like this, right? So that's what we're gonna be learning, um, or that's if you want to learn that, right? And so the way that you do it is, okay, so you can actually merge the two steps together, think it and say it, because the think it part for yourself is more mentally, like if you're working with a private lesson teacher, but even then you can still just merge it together. And so you just say, okay, let's say I'm really struggling with this key, and no matter how many times I get there to that key, right, I'm running it in all 12 keys, but I get to C major and I can't for the life of me play it well. And even if if I play it on a metronome and I slow it down, that's still not helping. I'm just struggling so much to play these notes for some reason. So now I'm gonna take a second. I'm gonna think about it and then say it out loud, right? Okay, what am I not getting here? So I have the 1, the 5, and the 3 of C major. So then I'll start. I have C, and then the 5 is G, and then the 3 is E. So usually there's a connection there, right? This is just an example. So for example, you saw that I struggled a bit to remember what the third was. And usually it has the same connection of when you're playing, right? You have that pause when you're trying to do things with a metronome or just in general. And you can't connect that third because your brain still hasn't made those connections that you're very familiar with the third yet. So when you do this mental work of thinking it and saying it out loud to yourself, you're like, okay, and you just repeat it over and over, similar as to like when you play a lick over and over again, you memorize it, but now you're really, really internalizing what you're doing. So you got, okay, again, 1, 5, 3. The 1 of my C major is C, obviously. The 5 of my C major is my G, and then third, again, is my E. So there's a little disconnect there, but then I repeat it, right? Okay, so 1 is C, 5 is G, 3 is E. Took me a little bit less time to say that now. So I'll do it again. The 1 is C, the 5 is G, the third is E. So now money, right? So now I was able to make the connection faster. Maybe I'll say it a couple more times, and then I'll play it again. And now the connection is made, right? You want to give yourself a little bit of time to process. If that took you like 30 minutes to figure out, take a little break. Do literally something other than touching your horn or playing or anything to do with music. Get distracted 5-10 minutes, and I guarantee you when you come back, you're gonna nail it. But this is, again, that's a really, really useful way of using that method. So now let's put it more into play. I'm gonna show you guys, we're gonna try to do a lick using the circle of fourths, right? If you guys aren't familiar with the circle of fourths, please let me know in the comments down below if you want me to make a video on that. I would be more than happy to make one. It's nothing too hard, but circle of fourths is a great way of really internalizing things a lot more when you want to learn things in those intervals, like moving in fourths, or in fifths if you want, but we'll just stick with fourths because it's a little bit easier to remember. But for example, if I use that same lick, right, and I moved it in the circle of fourths, I might have skipped one there. See, but you see, even I have to work on some stuff because I struggled when I got to in between A and D in the circle of fourths. But here, we'll move to that real quick. Okay, so check it out right here. Oops. So we got the circle of fourths right here, right? I tend to do this circle clockwise, not counterclockwise like this, because then it would be circle of fifths in this way, and I usually do the fourths going this way. It doesn't really matter. So we go to C, right? And then we go through all 12 keys. This is a great way to do that. So now we got F. Now we got the A sharp or B flat, and so on. So that's what we're gonna do. So now let's work on a lick. So I'm gonna pull up Sibelius here, actually, and let's see. Let me come up with something real quick. It's gonna be a little bit more complicated, right? But I'm gonna write it all down so you guys can take a look at it. I think it's a good one. It's a if you guys are really trying to work on bebop, I feel like it's a great line to work on. So now, this is another great way to do it, right? You want to write these things down, and you want to definitely number them. I don't have a paper with me right now, so I'm going to do it on here. I'm not going to number them, but I'll kind of talk about it. So let's just say, let's do a chord symbol, right? We'll just say we'll work over R, G major 7, or G major. And by R, I mean the key of B flat, since I'm playing on tenor. We're not doing concert. So first, let's get a rest in here, right? Because I'm starting on the and. So I'm going to turn this into a triplet. It sounds like that. It sounds wrong because it's in the Sibelius sound is in concert right now. Let's move this over here. Okay, so we're starting on the 7, right? On the and of one. Oh, I mean, you're starting in the and of something. You don't necessarily need to start exactly where I'm putting it when you get to that type of chord change on anything, right? But we're just thinking of this on the major scale. So we're starting on the 7. We're doing a triplet up. It's called a triad, right? So you got the 1, the 3, and the 5 of G major. So G, B, and D. And then you're going back to the 7 right here. I think. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So da da da. We're going to G. Oops, and then to A. Do, e. B, ba, right. So now, oops. So you want to think about these as numbers, right? So we're thinking about relative to G major. So we got the 7, and then we do a triad, right, of the 1, 3, and then the 5. Go back to the 7, and then we go down to the 5. We're pretty much enclosing this 7 right here. So 7, 5, 6, 7. Then we go back to the 1, and then the 9 or the 2, 7, 6, 5, and then 3. We end on that 3, right? So it's a great lick to work on. So now that this is basically me thinking about it and saying it out loud, right? So think about it, right? So I got the 7, and then I do a triplet of the triad on the 1. So G, B, D, and then I start on the 7 and I enclose it, right? So I go 7 down to the 5, and I just go up the scale back to the 7, right? And then I get to the 1, right? So, oh, sorry. I'm not supposed to do this without I'm supposed to do this without touching my horn, right? So 7, going back to the 1, and then think of the 9, then back to the 7, and then 6, 5, back to 3, right? And I know this is kind of a long lick, but this is a great example of really internalizing this kind of stuff. So, and now I have it, right? Thought about it, I said it out loud, and then now I'm playing it. So now we're going to try to run it a little bit, not really the whole thing in this video, but just a little bit in the circle of fourths. Let's go back to that actually. So now we need to conceptualize this, right? Let's say I need to transpose this into the key of C. So we're starting, remember, on that 7. So we're starting on the 7, right? in our key of C. So now I'm doing the triad, right? So 7 to the triad of starting on the 1, right? So 1, 3, 5. And then we're going to the 7 again, and then we're enclosing that 7. 7 to the down to the 5. 7, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to the 1, and then the 2. 1, 2, and then 7 again. Down to the 5, right? So B, A, G, and then we're ending on that 3rd, right? So I said it once, I'll probably say it again. So I start on the 7, then go to the 1, and then I do the triad, right? 1 triad, 2, back to the 7, and then we're enclosing that 7, da, 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 and then going to the 1, da, da. So 1, 9, 7, and then we go down to the 5, da, da, and then end on the 3rd, right? So now what that sounds like. Right, and that makes it so much easier because I've already internalized it before doing it. So let me show you what that looks like, because I've never run this lick in 12 keys ever. So if I could maybe probably get close, but I might not get it exactly, precise if I just try to do it out of the blue, right? So if let's say we go to F, right? Yeah, see, I already messed it up because I didn't try to internalize it, and I'm being honest here, So if I think about it, right, and I say it, okay, so I start on the 7. Okay, yeah, 7, and then to the 1. Da 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 da. What is that 7? Okay, got it. Okay, so right, 7 and then 5. I'm enclosing that 7. So 7, 5, 6, 7, right? So that would be E, C, D, E, and then F, G, and I go back to the 7, 6, 5, and then 3, right? So then that would be. Right? And so, see how that works? And it's a great way of internalizing this. So now we're going to try to incorporate this naturally into, into playing it over changes, right? So now I'm going to pull out iReal B here, just so we can get something. I won't be able to play the backing track because I don't have the equipment right now with this Mac to kind of share the screen sound and my my sound from the horn at the same time. I can try to figure it out later, but for now we're just going to do it like this without anything. So let's say on Joy Spring, right? There's going to be maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 places that we can try to use it. So I'm going to say here, right, on these G majors. We can even use it over these 5 or these 2 5s because it'll to the G, because it'll work, right? You're still within that key. And then we got the A flat here. We can probably try to figure that out here. And then we got the A major here and the F major, so we can probably try to utilize it naturally in there. So right now I need to think about doing it in A flat and A. Let me see. So that one was a little easier. And then okay, so that was A major. And now let's do it in F, since that's one we just did. And then we'll go back to G. Right, we're doing over Joy Spring. So I'll try to play one chorus and I'll utilize them. as naturally as possible. It might not be perfect, but the point is to just try. Isn't really to try to get everything really natural right now. It's to try to internalize a piece of vocabulary that you're wanting to learn. So let's do that. One, two. Oh, sorry. So, wasn't the best, but I was able to use it a couple of times in there, and I mean, I'm sure you heard that. But you really want to try, to just incorporate it as many times as you can. If you can't, if you're struggling with it, I say go back and try think it, say it, play it again, and just do it constantly until mentally it's really 100% there, right? Because that's what you want. You really want to make sure that you get this down to a T. Because if not, then you're wasting your own time, and your brain is going to learn bad connections, and you don't want to learn bad habits, because then you're going to play like bad habits, right? So I'm gonna try one more time, make it a little bit more clear. Sorry, I fumbled the melody. I haven't really played this in a long time, so I'll do it just starting the chorus, maybe two choruses without the melody. All right, one. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. So again, think it, say it, play it. You really want to try your best to try to internalize it. It's really gonna improve your playing by mountains. Like as soon as I learned this method, not only was I able to start teaching myself a lot better, but my playing improved significantly. And for those of you that are prodigies out there, I don't know, maybe it might help you a lot. And those people that are struggling a lot, like this is something that you can try incorporating into your learning process. And um, I think it'll be really useful for you guys. So this is gonna be one of those. I'm trying to do a mini series, so stay tuned uh, for learning more bebop licks. I'm gonna try to make another video. No, I will make another video on jazz mastery and bebop licks, and you gotta come back for the next video so we can really incorporate this in a different way. Um, trying to learn some more vocabulary and incorporating it into more tunes. And yeah, but thank you for watching, and it's a pleasure. If you got any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments. And that's all for you guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.